So this is what we do. We make these filters and it puts bad water in and good water comes out. So everybody can have clean water. Do you think everybody should have clean water?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do too.
My name is Steve Carpenter, Professor of Art Education, and I have been the Chief Executive Artist for Reservoir Studio here at Penn State since September of 2011. I started working on water filters in Texas when I was at Texas A&M, but I was introduced to the filters by my mentor, Richard Wukich, who is a retired professor of art from Slippery Rock University. And he and a colleague, Manny Hernandez from Northern Illinois University, turned me on to the water filters, an appropriate technology that can help render disease-ridden water potable. So Reservoir Studio is in the basement of the Arts Cottage. Conceptual framework for it is that it's intended to be a collective, transdisciplinary collective, so people from any discipline, any interest can work there as long as they find some way to resonate or connect with what's going on. So the Reservoir Studio is a space in which students, faculty members, colleagues can come whenever they need to work on various aspects of the filter project, but they become different threads, right? There are curriculum pieces, there are artistic pieces, there are publicity, there's advocacy, there are a whole number of facets to this, and every one of those facets has a home and has a place in the studio.
My name is Amanda Perez. I'm a sophomore in energy engineering. I also work with Mike Henry. He's a junior in immunology and toxicology studies, and I work with two students getting their masters in international affairs, Corey Hansen and Jinju Kim. So basically our goal is to create a low-cost water press that can be built by pretty much anybody. Our standard saying is 2 people, $200, 2 days. So right now what we're working on is just kind of a frame model with a car jack press, and you just use the press to push down against the clay between 2 molds made of steel mixing bowls, and out comes a pressed filter, which you let dry and then fire in a kiln, and with the burnout material it should filter water.
Kind of depends on what your priorities are. If you need water, probably faster than walking 30 miles.
Collaborative creative resistance. Performance was modeled after public pedagogy presentations that I've done at Texas A&M University and at Cal State San Bernardino. So we took the studio outside into the plaza in front of the Palmer Museum of Art, and from 9 to 5 made water filters, knowing that people would show up, knowing that some of them would want to get their hands dirty, some would want to just hear about what the technology was about, knowing that people would be fascinated and stop in their tracks seeing a 7-foot-tall steel hydraulic press in the middle of campus. The process of making the filters it's not complicated.
You mix 4 parts clay to 3 parts sawdust, and then you add water to it until it gets to a nice malleable consistency, at which point you wedge the clay to remove all of the excess air because you don't want any cracking in your filters.
Make sure people have clean water, they understood bad water, and that people can get sick. It was great. It was great. Good. Yeah.
The press is then set up, the clay is put on top of the male mold. The female mold from the top is then lowered down onto it where it compresses the clay. For extra force, we'll use a hydraulic or car jack to apply pressure evenly.
You want to try? You want to try?
I'm going to let go.
Oh, you hurt your hand. Oh, that's right. Oh, yeah. But it's very easy. Big, all the way up, all the way down.
I'm going to let go. You're good.
Trying to get this down to here. Okay, so we still have a few more. The clay is going to start coming out. See? Good. Slow. One more. Slow. That's perfect. Perfect.
Okay. When we're finished, we use a turn crank and pulley system to then evenly raise the female mold back off the clay. and remove the filter.
The second move.
Young Tug, look at you, man! You made a filter. Do you like that, huh?
Yeah, you don't really want to move over too much because then it screws up the forks on the outside. So we try to
This
just
has the
barely.
date, April 13th. So we know when.
Once the filter is pressed and dried, it goes into a kiln. It's fired to about 866 degrees centigrade, or you can go up to 900 degrees centigrade. The water that has these microbes in it then is poured into the filter, and about 2 liters every hour is the production of the water. And the microbes get trapped within the filter. With the silver impregnated or washed onto the filter, the silver then acts, like I said, as an antimicrobial and will render inert most of the organisms that are in the water that cause disease.
The event out front of Palmer Museum that Dr. Carpenter set up was really cool. It gave us a chance to not only give Reservoir Studio exposure, but also our project, because since we usually work out of the basement, we don't get a lot of visitors or passerbys.
We're trying to design a less expensive press model so that communities can actually own their own presses.
So it was great to be out in the open atmosphere where people could ask us questions, we could demonstrate the press, and teach them just a little bit about the problems and contaminated water issues across not only other countries, but even in our country.
Thickness and the same pore sizes, we should be able to maintain the same flow.
So the performance, I'm hoping to do it again. I've had invitations to do this performance in other places. A day is pretty challenging, but it's little sacrifice for people who to bring attention to and then to specifically respond to in meaningful ways. For people who don't have water every single day, I can give up one day of my life to do that.